Pod Posse! It's me, your host, Lindsay Wilson, also known as Lindsay the Stager. And here you are with Florally Design Time. I get to interview my friend and one of my favorite realtors of all time, Rob Partin with Fonville Morrissey Realty today. Yay! Oh my God, Rob, I just realized that we have been working together since March 2019. Our first deal that we did was Trip Road. Do you remember Trip Road with two P's?
Yeah, what was that? Was that in Pittsburgh? No.
I don't know.
Trip.
Like, how in the world did you ever come into my life? How did you find me?
Brian Peters in our office. I think, well, you did the presentation in our office, this Stonehenge, right? And then I think you reached out to Brian, but then, yeah, you called me, and I was like, yeah, I've got some listings coming up with some staging jobs, and then had you go out, and the sellers liked you, and you did an excellent job, and we sold the house quick and for top dollar, and so it just kind of kept going on.
Thanks, man. Guess what? Since then, we've done 61 deals.
Oh, wow.
61, Rob.
Yeah.
Isn't that insane?
I know.
That's like a lot.
That's a lot. Well, hopefully we can double that in the next 4 years. That'd be great.
I know, right? So how many do you do in a year? And what's normal? And you're a top producer, so what's that?
So, I mean, last year I probably did about, it's just me by myself. So I did in the 50s last year, whereas the year before I think I did 80 something, which was ridiculous. I mean, it's crazy because I'm by myself, so I don't have a buyer's agent. I don't have like a team of other realtors. I mean, I'm my own person. So literally, 50s one a week, which is pretty busy. But the year before we did, everybody did record, like 80 deals. I mean, it was just crazy.
I know. And I feel like when I walk into yours, I never know what I'm going to get.
We've staged mobile home double wides all the way to $1 million properties. So, and
all the way to, when I walked into Todd's house.
Yeah.
God love him.
Yeah.
I walked into Todd's house. It's a house that he acquired from his father who passed.
Yeah.
And it's like, I walked in and I never sit down first because I just want to keep the authority and I want to take them outside and start at the curb. But I literally walked down and sat down with this guy and I was like, dude, what's going on? Because it was just a lot and we're going to help him. And sure enough, we have come up with a solution. But also what I want to point out with you, Rob, is that you are like one of the only men that I work with. Not the only man. There are others, but they don't give me every single listing like you do. And also, you never come to the consultations, which is like so different than all of the other realtors. All of the other realtors are like my friends and they're women and they want to like see what I have to say. And like, we like to just play around and look at the house together. But you and I literally do so much work through just texting, which is like easy and simple and straight to the point. We get it done. You say, here's Mary on Main Street. I call her. I say, I'm going to meet with them on Wednesday. And then I call you from leaving the consultation. I say, schedule the photography. We're doing it in 2 weeks. Boom, done, sold. See ya.
Yeah, you make my job easy, especially, when the sellers agree, to have you, meet and do the staging. Then it's just kind of like, it's just a blue footprint system. It's just, I know and then I don't have to worry. Like we've got one coming up, I think May 9th, Jordy's townhome in Durham, which is the opposite of Todd's. Hers is pretty much turnkey, but still is,
Totally.
Yeah, I don't have to worry.
Well, I always say I make bad things look good and good things look better. But who cares? I'm tired of talking about staging. I want to talk to you and to the pod posse about my surroundings. Does everybody see where I am? I am not on the porch of my apartment where I've been for the last 10 months waiting for this, what was supposed to be 4-month project to happen. I am in my new home, people. Ooh. And I am a different person, Rob. I am not the girl who I was last Wednesday. I have changed for the worse. I am over life. I'm over my family. The worst thing that happened was, well, one of the worst things. So, we've been paying for this ginormous, ugly, yellow dumpster to be in the front yard for all of this construction to happen over the last almost year. They removed the dumpster the day after we moved in when I needed it the most. Come on. I've got furniture boxes. I've got boxes to unpack. I've got packing paper. And they took the box away. So, of course, we just start throwing the boxes in the front yard. Yes, I listed on Facebook Marketplace, please come over and get these free boxes. And then there was a thunderstorm on Saturday. So now I have sopping wet boxes in my front yard. You know why? Because nobody cares. They just want to get in and out. You don't know this because I don't think I've shared this with you, but the pod posse is on the edge of their seats with this information. I had to go to my contractor, Melvin, because the high-end builders that we hired to do this project completely let us down. And so there's Melvin, my contractor, who does all of my staged homes from power washing to painting to carpet, stepped in and we made this happen together. And it's beautiful.
Good. Excellent.
I know, right? It's crazy. Have you ever done any kind of like remodeling? Don't ever do it.
Small scale. And a lot of it was by default. I think my mom, after I don't know how many years, decided that she was not going to host Thanksgiving this year, and they live in eastern North Carolina. My brother lives out near Charlotte, so they decided we're going to host Thanksgiving. And literally the minute we agreed to host Thanksgiving, the stove broke, and which started a whole domino of kitchen renovation. So, we've got an older house built in 1969, so we had a lot of the original stuff, avocado green counters, avocado green, built-in,
wow,
really cool built-in GE stove, still work. But it finally died, and we tried to get it fixed, believe it or not, and the guy was like, are you serious, trying to get it fixed? But to get a new stove means you got to get new counters, and then if we're going to get new counters, we might as well get new cabinets, and if we're going to do that, we might as well get new ceiling and light fixtures. So, and that's started, and yeah, the stove broke August, right around the pandemic. I can't remember, but we had it all done right before Thanksgiving, so we were able to host Thanksgiving. So yeah, we've done stuff by default where stuff is kind of, we've had forced.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Not to mention, over the last year that I've been putting together this masterpiece and ordering, when there's a New Year's sale or a Black Friday or a Orange Monday or whatever the hell it is, I've accumulated all of this furniture that has been waiting in my in-laws' basements. So I hired 2 men in a truck. They did a great job. But all of a sudden, I have to put together all this furniture. My fingers, I can't tweeze my eyebrows because my fingers are so swollen from that goddamn Allen wrench that really hurts. I've put together 8 dining room chairs, 4 out of the 6 bar stools. I'll show you later, like, how everything looks. I'm just not ready yet because it's only 9:00 in the morning, and we usually do the podcasts at like 12:30, but we had to do this for, I don't know why the schedule today. It was probably my idea, but
no, it was me. I have a closing.
My daughter Daisy, what?
I said it's me. I have a closing today at noon, so I'm.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
What house are you closing on?
It's a buyer in Durham, and so nice guys moved here, and yeah, we closing on his house. No, not I've got. It's, not a listing, it's a buyer, but yeah, nice guy.
That's awesome. Well, I'm surrounded by like trucks, and this is why we can't have nice things. Oh, here's a Oh, do we need this? That's just good for my ear. Daisy, my 9-year-old, they're doing this like really fun project at Lacey Elementary where they do this wax museum. And she has chosen Lady Diana. So this morning we were up at the crack of ass and I was putting a French twist in her hair with a tiara, and she's got a boa, and she's got on heels and a dress that we had to buy. I mean, so that's why I'm not showing you the house right now, because it looks like a crime scene. Anyway, the other thing about moving is I'm never doing it again. I cannot. It's just, and it was so like I could not pay for another month to start in the apartment. So I kind of moved us out a little early. And this past weekend, there are children playing everywhere. We still have the ram board down over the floors. The painter is trying to like step over the children to paint to get to the spots. I was assembling box springs for Daisy's twin beds. Those usually come assembled. And here I am like out on the porch and it's pouring rain. And I'm like, it has been terrible. Hell, never doing this again. Even if we didn't think that this was going to be our forever home, it is now. But also, I'm so happy. It has been appraised, and it's just we're sitting on a little gold mine. And it was really hard to get here, but damn it, we worked hard to get here, and now we're here, and finally we have our little spot. Where do you live, Rob?
In Chapel Hill. They say every realtor should move like every 3 to 5 years, just so you can go through, experience what your clients are going through. So, because it is stressful. Yeah, and now you kind of have an appreciation.
It is, and I have tried to like be the organizer and the solutionista that I am for my clients.
Yep.
And what I stand by is success starts with organization. And I can't just like pack up a box and like then just leave it. I literally like moved 10 minutes away and I packed up the entire kitchen, brought the box over in my car and put it in the cabinet so that it's just done. Like I hate the look of boxes so much, and I can't just have the silverware in disarray on top of the new marble slab island. I have to have everything put away. So I think that if anybody is looking for the biggest tip of how to move successfully, be organized. Like have your plan.
And maybe there's a good market for hiring organizers. Yeah,
I think there is. And you and I have talked about that even in the past. And that's not what I do.
No,
not Todd.
I know. I mean, you totally could do it. And for what they were charging as organized, I'm like, Lindsay already does that. That's already part of her service.
I know it, but I feel like people think that, like when they see this before picture of this room that looks like a crime scene, and then they see the after I've told them to put away all of the crap. I would never say that. It's not that I organize. It's not that I put away the crap. I just tell them to put it somewhere or have somebody do it. But I think that just another set of eyes when I come in. You can't even see the home that you've been living in for 2 years. If you've lived in a home for 2 years, you can't see it anymore. And so when you have another person come in and say, this needs to not be here, this needs to be here, and you can't have a red dining room. But I just, another thing that's happened to me though is because I'm in like because there's like 500 pots going on in my head, my organizational skills have like jumped off the boat because I was in a situation yesterday with Kara Pierce and she was looking for a quote from Melvin and I was like, oh my God, where is that quote from Melvin? I had absolutely no recollection whatsoever that it even happened because it happened a week ago when I was a different person. And it's hard to keep it all together.
Yep. It is.
How do you do it without an assistant? I mean, what are you doing by yourself?
I mean, technology. I mean, I got a notebook. I take stuff. My wife is helping me as an assistant. She helps do like turn in listing paperwork, buyer's paperwork, normal stuff you got to turn in for the office. But And that's probably an area I could probably do better at, as far as trying to stay organized. I feel like I am pretty organized,
Yeah.
but when you get super busy and you get, you got a time block management is big, obviously set aside time, but then there's always those fires and stuff that happens, and then that becomes number one, and then, and the stuff you were going to work on. And that's where, when the market was super hot, I mean, I think every realtor, it was kind of good when it slowed down. We were able to kind of be normal and take a deep breath.
I know, right? You were saying something earlier about, I'm so bored about talking about the market balancing because, yes, okay. But what you said that I thought was interesting is that it used to be so easy for the sellers. Like, all they had to do was even mention that they were going to move. Don't even stick the sign in your yard and it's just going to go. But now, what did you say?
The sellers are having to put work. I mean, buyers are pickier, and, I had sellers when the market was hot, and we talked about, hey, I know your house looks great, but I've got a stager that can come in. And it's like, well, why do I need a stage? The houses are just selling. I'm like, well, because you want to get maximum amount of money for your house. I mean, yeah, I know it'll sell, but, we want to get you top dollar. But yeah, the sellers are having to put forth effort. I mean, it was really bad. I wouldn't even have company over for some of these houses, and people are putting it on the market and taking pictures. And I'm like, it's just, they were lazy and sloppy and not putting for their.
Yeah.
Now those houses aren't selling. And so.
It's interesting because even though last year was that crazy year, I'll never forget, I staged a house in Chapel Hill that was listed at 700 and sold for 1.1. It was like a 311,000 over asking. And it was just a normal house. It was on big land, but I had the best year that I've ever had last year, but it wasn't because of staging. It was because everybody was so afraid of getting into the rat race of the market that they just decided to dwell instead of sell. And I was doing a lot more design jobs and furnishing Airbnbs and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, COVID changed a lot. I think a lot of people, with the opportunity to work from home, and then, if you can live anywhere, there's not a lot of inventory. There's just not a lot of inventory. And you got, 10, 20 people bidding on houses. It's nuts. But now
do you think what do you think it's like now?
It's
because Rob Partin, I hate to tell you, but we're still doing over asking.
Yeah, if the house is priced right, it looks good, it's staged, all those things. Yeah, those are still we're still seeing bidding wars on those. But it's not as, and instead of 10 or 20 offers, it may only be 5 offers, right? 2, 3,
right.
4, 5, but it's still enough to drive it up. But it's not as crazy as it was to you, because now some of those people that bought 2 years ago, 3 years ago, they have a low interest rate, and a lot of them don't want to move now, because they're like, well, I don't want to give up my 3% interest rate.
That's us. We refinanced for 1 7/8. What?
And you're not, you're not giving that up.
No, and the fact that we just put in a small fortune into this house to make it livable instead of tearing it down. And that was a major decision, because I want to reiterate this. When we bought this home in 2019, it was before the world blew up with COVID, with me having a baby at 45 years old and marrying my third husband and him adopting my back then 6-year-old. And so we bought this little gem of a house, and we thought we would tear it down because it was just a little old bungalow, 1942, 2-bedroom, 1 bath, teeny tiny little linoleum floor, original kitchen. Okay, so we think we'll tear it down because back then it was affordable at $200 a square foot. So then the world blows up. We move to the beach for a year. I have River, the baby, who's now 3. And then when we come back, It has gone from $200 a square foot to $400. And we're like, what are we going to do? I don't have $1 million. And that's $1 million for five, four, and a door. Like nothing custom, not a big, beautiful ITB home. And we are ITB. So we have this gem of a location. So we decided to just add on to the original character of this adorable little bungalow. We've blown out everything. This kitchen is almost too big. My husband said last night as we were cooking, it's almost too big. It's like a mile from the stove to the refrigerator and back. And I am not complaining at all. I am so happy. This is my masterpiece that I've been waiting for 48 years. But how does anybody afford to like build a new home unless they live out in, I don't know, where do you live to buy a new home that you can afford? It's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's good that you kept the integrity of that old house. You know, I know a lot of the tear downs and you build these modern houses, but I like the houses that are you know, that keep the character of that time period and
Totally.
you know,
And also, Lindsay the Stager is not a cookie cutter kind of girl. I want something special. Another horrible thing that I would love to share about how our initial builders let us down was the original shutters on the front of the house are so cute. They're black with little white squares. They were made of aluminum. There are no more aluminum shutters these days. So I was so specific in saying, please keep those shutters for me. We were putting them back on the house. They threw them away. All of a sudden, a couple months ago, I was like, where are the shutters? And they had to make me new ones out of wood. They look fantastic. But that was very important to keep the integrity of the home and to be a little cute and designery. So
the Design Time from the Flora podcast is sponsored by Florally, your premier source for designer-inspired floors. Use Florally's live chat with real human beings to answer your flooring questions and even book a free in-home consultation.
So, Rob, we've had a whole bunch of our friends on prior to you.
yeah.
And it's like Kara and Catherine, and you guys were all together. I met you guys all at that amazing presentation that it must have been amazing since we still all work together. But you're the only one that stayed with Fonville Morrissey, and they've all gone out to like EXP and Compass. So what's the deal? How come you didn't go? Why did you stay with Fonville Morrissey?
I mean, I like the people I work with. You know, I think they may have left. We were in transition with a new broker in charge, and you know, and you know, real estate became remote anyways. And I don't know. I probably some of it was probably too lazy to try to look at other companies and see what they're offering. I was so busy, and Fonville's been good to me, and I like our new broker in charge. He's great, and like I said,
Mark Parker.
Well, I like Mark. Mark left, and that's kind of when a lot of the stuff happened, where people left.
Right.
And he went to HPW, Caldwell Banker there, went to a bigger office, and a lot of realtors followed him over there. Some great realtors went over there with him, and then obviously some other realtors left too. But I've been happy there, and they've been good to me. And
so who's the BIC that took over for Mark?
Jeremy Burns. And
okay,
yeah, you need to stop by and get and meet Jeremy. But
I do.
Yeah.
And also, I don't know if you know this, Rob, but this is crazy. This is a great bit of tidbit information. I can't wait to tell you this. My dad, Stuart Wilson, is an old Raleigh boy. He is best friends with Johnny Morrissey and Tommy Fonville.
Oh, okay. How about that?
They all went to school together. They all played golf together. I just ran into Tommy in the grocery store the other day.
Yeah.
Tommy Fonville's daughter, do you know Mary Burr Edwards?
Yeah. I saw her a week or so ago, yeah.
And then he has another daughter, Anna Dunn. We're all friends. And it's like they've built this ginormous company that was bought by Long and Foster.
Yeah.
but they've been in my family forever.
Yeah.
And I never thought growing up as a dancer that I would be a stager back in Raleigh with my dad's buddies. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's such a small world.
Yeah. So, yeah. So I'm happy where I'm at. You know, we had some turnover and stuff, but we've still got a lot of the same agents there, and I think I like the Stonehenge office. It's a good family, and Jeremy's been great to work with, and then we got great lenders in Mike and Dan and Cheryl administrative. So a lot of that hasn't changed, and then you know, there's still a lot of the realtors that are still there and so forth. So but you know, they've been good to me, and I you know, and real estate's so much remote. It's not like we go in the office every day, because I live in Chapel Hill, and people say, why don't you just do the Chapel Hill office? And one of the nice things I like with Farmville is that I do go in the Chapel Hill office when I need to, or the Cary office, or the Durham office, or, you know, Wake Forest, if I need to meet buyers. But, you know, with COVID now, I met buyers for the first time in the Cary office because they're living in Cary. So I met them in Cary. But, you know, we're doing Zoom meetings now with buyers, or we just meet at Wegmans or whatever. You know, we'll just meet at a coffee shop or something. But so
is that how it goes? Is that how you meet with your buyers? Like, I know that a lot of them find you on the Dave Ramsey website.
It just,
which is like your bread and butter, dude. I mean, that's where everybody finds you.
So I got my sphere of influence, people I've done business with, and then also I'm a Dave Ramsey ELP, so I do get a lot of business from Dave Ramsey, and that has been really, really good, because obviously, because you end up meeting with a lot of the sellers that came through Dave Ramsey.
And, all of them.
And they're really good leads. I mean, you know.
But I mean, like, do they call you and they say, hey, Rob, we found you on Dave Ramsey, and then you say, let's go and have coffee?
So I call them. So the lead comes out. I'm not the only Dave Ramsey realtor, right? So it's a competition to call. And then, you know, you try to schedule that appointment. And then, you know, if they're a seller, obviously I'm going to meet them at their house, right? I mean, I got to see the house. If they're buyers, it's kind of what's convenient for them, you know?
Yeah. And you usually call me from their house and say, when are you available?
Yeah, we had one last year in Chapel Hill where I didn't even get the listing, but you got the staging job.
I know, right? I know.
It happens.
And you know what? I've never heard from those people again, Rob.
Well, you talking about the realtors or the sellers?
Yeah, the realtors.
I do. I know, but
isn't that weird?
Yeah, you did a great job. I mean,
so thank you. What is Dave Ramsey?
All right, so Dave.
Tell our pod posse.
Oh, okay. So Dave Ramsey's kind of the financial guy, and on the radio, and his message is all about no debt, get out of debt, be debt free. He has baby steps, and then he also then has, you know, realtors, insurance, financial advice. He has all these people that he, you know, endorses, and I'm one of his ELPs. We call it endorsed local providers. So people from around the country that follow Dave, and we follow Dave's principles, which is you live on a budget, you know, borrowing money's bad, all that stuff. Get out of debt, be debt free. And he has baby steps, and the people that follow that philosophy say, oh, okay, well, Dave recommends these realtors, and there's a number of realtors in the Triangle area that he endorses, and then they go to his website.
You're the only one that I've ever heard of with the whole Dave Ramsey thing. Nobody else does.
Well,
you're like a rock star with Dave Ramsey.
Yeah, I don't know who the other realtors that Dave endorses that are my competition are really successful realtors. I mean, that's why I don't get every one of them. They have to be. They have to have a certain number of years in the business, and they have to produce at a top level. So it's competitive. But I think, you know, I do pretty good for what he sends me. Obviously, I'd love to convert more, but it is what it is.
Is it like, if you do 10 deals, are 5 of them Dave Ramsey, or are 10 of them Dave Ramsey?
That's a great question. I'd probably say half are Dave Ramsey. half of my deals with
That's
Dave
amazing.
Ramsey, and the other half are referrals from past clients and friends, or repeat clients. Like, Jordy is not Dave Ramsey, but her fiance Brad, I met through Dave Ramsey. Now they're repeat clients. And so
Pod Posse, he's talking about Jordy, this cutest little girl who's selling this townhouse that already looks good, that I'm going to pull something out of my hat to make it look even better. But he's talking about a client of ours.
Yeah.
What else was I going to say? So what makes a top producer a top producer? Like, how many deals is that? Like, you said that last year, or the year before last, you had like 80. That's ridiculous. Like, how many is that a month?
I mean, I was doing...
That's way too much.
Yeah, I was doing like 5 or 6 a month, for sure. I mean, well, it had to have been like 7.
Or like 10.
Yeah, typically it's maybe, 5 a month. But lately it's been like maybe 3, because last 6 months, I mean, last year up until June, it was hot. And then the last 6 months of the year, and even kind of starting in this year, it was kind of slow. It's picked back up. But I think for Dave Ramsey's, I think you have to they want someone that does at least 35 deals a year, I believe, is what, 30 or 35 deals a year, I believe.
You're way past that.
Well, yeah, and but I've been with them now for 10 or 11 years. Because I know when I first got into real estate in 2007, we were following Dave Ramsey, and I wanted to be an ELP, and I couldn't do it, and I had to wait 5 years, and finally, I think
that's very strict.
Oh,
it's a very strict.
It was
endorsement.
And so after in 2012, they're like, okay, because I was like, look, we're following your plan. I read the books, listen to the radio show. We're doing everything. And, but they were, really strict. And then the same thing with some other realtors, I don't know how they are now, cause I've been in it for 11 years, but I think it's pretty much the same. And he's like number 1 or number 2 on the radio. But he's got podcast. Everybody got podcasts now. So, but he's on.
You're on one.
I know.
I think it's funny how all of us realtors, we've been working together for so long now, and I love that, and we're all now friends, but isn't it interesting when we all freak out together, and I will text you and I'll be like, was it something I said? Because all of a sudden it's happened to us, like, and it's in a weird time of the year where it's supposed to be busier, like the spring market. And then we're like, what's going on? Crickets are chirping. What is everybody doing? And we all like freak out together, and we like huddle, and we're like, oh my God, is this like Armageddon? And then like it just all subsides and goes back to normal, and we're like, huh. But like that's happened to us a few times where we like freak out, and I'm like, what is happening? Have you fired me? Are you cheating on me with another stager?
Yeah,
because I see everything that comes on the market, and I see Zillow, and of course I look, and I know, because all of my friends who stage and have inventory, I know their style, and I will say, hey, did you stage that beautiful one on Beach Ridge or whatever? But like, I would feel so cheated on if one of my realtors didn't use me to stage a home, because I see what you list, and it's like a crazy thing that we are all looking at. You can't hide it, like.
Yeah.
Do you ever, and how awkward was that thing that happened to you and I when you call me, tell me to go over there and do the consultation, and then they use another realtor? I felt terrible.
Yeah, but, obviously, there are times where, they don't use you for the staging, even as hard as I preach and push you. So, I'm fine. I'm glad you got business out of it, and even Melvin, because there are times where I still get the listing, but yet they choose not to, for whatever reason. I can't convince them to have a stager, and
I know, and you are such a good advocate for me, Rob. I know that even if they say, should we take this picture down? You're like, ask Lindsay. I'm not going to say a damn thing.
Yeah, well, you said I like, good cop, bad cop, and then I joke. I said, look, she's not a bad cop, but I said that's a Lindsay question, and they
Yes, I
start
am.
kind of going through and trying to get rid of stuff. I'm like, no, you need to wait. You need to wait because let Lindsay put eyes on it, and then she'll make that decision and help you and stuff. And so,
You always say, when do I list my home? Let's say it together.
when it's ready.
When it's ready.
When it's ready.
That's what you always say, and that's the truth. I think that that's such a great little nugget. That's what our producer is looking for, that little nugget. When do I list my house? When it's ready. Well, when is it ready? When you do the repairs, when you fix the mailbox, when you obviously have it staged, when we have it photographed and it looks like it's standing at attention. And most of the most of the stagings that I get is like stage 5 Chinese fire drill. We bought a house that's closing in a month, so we have to sell this in 2 weeks so that we can buy that new house. And so I am really good under pressure, but thank God they are starting with me and Melvin and you, and that we have a whole team of getting it ready, or else why would we list?
Yeah. Isn't it frustrating when you see the coming soons where they have no pictures or it isn't staged or whatever? And I'm like, why would you put it out there when it's not ready?
Or what about when they have the coming soon sign in the yard and the yard is not landscaped yet? It will be because it's coming soon, but like, it's kind of like allowing the public to watch the tech week before opening night of a new show.
Yeah.
Like, why would you invite them in to see all of the imperfections, all of the costumes falling apart, people forgetting the choreography, the lights not being right, the music going out? Why would you let them see that before we open the house?
I know it's kind of hard. Now the MLS has changed with the coming soon, where it counts as days on market. I'm not seeing as much of that, and if I am, it's only for maybe 2 days. In the house, for the most part, they're already ready, But yeah, back when the coming soon, the days on market was frozen to zero, the minute they get a listing, they throw coming soon in the yard, and then the house wasn't ready and nothing was ready. So yeah, it was kind of frustrating seeing that. So
I think it's also a waste of time for the realtor. Like, why would you put all of that energy into the coming soon? Just open it on opening night.
Yeah, you're not supposed to have showings. I mean, so, and that's the other thing when the market, people are beating down trying to say, hey, can you get me in? Can you get me in? Well, you're not allowed. You're not supposed to have people in as a coming soon. Plus, I don't think it does the seller a service, because it'd be better to have that demand of many people competing and bidding on the house than just one person that just comes in and makes an offer. It kind of defeats the...
So what about this? With the coming soon, explain to me and the pod posse, what is a pocket listing, and is that allowed? And what's the difference between a pocket listing and having like a realtor, like having the realtors in your company come and look at the house? Like, what's that all about?
Yeah, I get, so the pocket listing theoretically is not out to everyone. It's just, kind of in-house, and it's in the realtor's pocket, right? Before it hits the market or something.
So like, walk me through that. If you have you ever had a pocket listing where you just show the realtors in your office? Is that allowed?
If the seller allows it, yeah. And I was on the winning end as a buyer, but the seller, it is called office exclusive, right? You have 2 types of marketing,
right.
Office exclusive. And when COVID was the height of COVID, there was an elderly person that was, like, look, if you can just sell it, if you got somebody, Farmville's got 600 agents or whatever, and it's like, hey, if you've already got a realtor that has a buyer, I'm not looking to try to have a bidding war and have this craziness of people coming through my house because my grandmother is fearful of COVID, all this stuff. if they're willing to give me what I'm asking, and then I'm good with it. And so the realtor said, hey, I know your buyer's looking for a house with a pool. I'm getting ready to list one in Wake Forest. And she's like, look, if you're willing to, and it was sight unseen. And my guy, we looked at pictures because the house, they had just bought the house. And so, yeah, in that case, it worked out great from a buyer. Now, for the seller, maybe not so, because they probably could have got more money. But
Right. That's the thing. Why wouldn't you want to get more money?
well, COVID, right? They didn't want. They had an elderly person.
Everybody in their house.
And during the height of COVID, and all these people coming in touching stuff. I mean, right? You had to wear gloves. You had to wear masks. You had to, all this craziness going on with showing houses. People were very fearful. So she was just, and it was kind of maybe, they maybe didn't realize. So that lucked out for us. But it was, that's what the seller wanted. And that was the seller chose that. But I know for my listings, we pretty much, I don't do that. It just depends on what the seller wants, right? It's what's in their best interest. But to me, the best interest is Lindsay comes in, stage it. We have opening night and let the people just, make their bids and get you the most money.
I'm going over to one of yours after.
A pocket list, because I'm not, as a listing agent, I'm not making any.
Yeah, I know. After I go to the school and see Lady Di do her presentation, I have a consultation with your guy, Hank, today at 12:30.
Oh, yeah, Hank. Yeah, it's that up in Youngsville. Hank's great. And actually, they're a repeat client because you did their daughter and son-in-law's house that we got crazy asking up in Franklinton, Youngsville area 2 years ago, or 2 or 3 years ago. Cashmere. But and they did everything you asked and came in and stayed. And Wendy, their daughter, she sold you before I could. They were like, oh yeah, Wendy said Lindsay's. Yeah, I said yeah. So have Lindsay come in.
So glad that we've gotten to do all of the business that we have. 5 years, 61 deals. I like that I've brought you to the table to discuss today, because usually we have a lot of stagers and designers and we talk about cheetah wallpaper and blue Hague walls, but I think you've given us a lot of good information on the market, and you haven't bored me with the word balance, because balance is boring. It's like the word perfect. So thank you for talking to us today, because I'm going to go. I got to go up to the school and see Lady Di.
Yay!
But I'm so glad that you were a part of this today.
Well, thank you for having me on. It's my pleasure, my treat. So it's always.
Aw.
And we'll be talking.
Well, I'll be talking to you a little later. After I go to Hank's, I'll call you like I do and say, this is when we're staging.
I like it. We're going to add a closet. He wants to add a closet to that office to make it a third bedroom.
Oh my God.
So
I've never done that before, but here we go.
Yeah, and he's got a lot.
It's always different.
He was asking about pictures. He was one. I said, just wait. Lindsay will tell you what to take down, and so forth. So, but it's a cute little house, and so he's there. He's in his I think he's 96 or something, but he is sharp as a tack.
Wow.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yep.
All right. Well, that's it. See you on the flip side, Pod Posse. And that's Lindsay the Stager signing out with Florally Design Time from the floor up. Bye.
Thanks for watching. If you're enjoying this episode, please like, comment, or subscribe. If you don't like it, then off.